DMJ Today with your host, Davin, Marcus, and Jared. It was in the moment. It was like, go for it.
Hey guys, welcome to DMJ Today. My name is Mark, and together with Davin and Jared, we are your hosts.
Yes, sir.
Yo.
What's up,
Davin,
guys?
tell us why we are here. Why are we here today?
Why we here?
Ooh.
Why is the reason for our meeting? you'd
Yeah.
say. So one day I decided, I really want to start a podcast, but I've no one to start it with. All my close homies, they were like, we don't have time for that shit. So I was like, I'm fucking lonely. I have nothing to do. So I tweeted out, I really want to start a podcast. I have no one to do it with. It was really bad. And all of a sudden, Mark and Jared were my guardian angels. They were my saving grace. And now we're here.
Now we're here.
Now we're here.
Welcome to DMJ Today.
Yo, guys, on the real though, like with this lockdown and stuff, it's been super scary going to the shop. And I'll explain one reason that I felt super judged yesterday. I went to the shop yesterday. I felt super judged.
What?
And okay, I was judging my mom as well. Okay. So my mom has my mom just coughs. Like, that's just her thing. I don't know. I think she has some lung problem. I don't really know. So I go to the shop with her, okay? And we're in the middle of the shop. And my mom out loud, and I'm there behind her. Everyone's turned around, looked at her, and I'm like, I don't know, guys. I'm sorry. I hope you don't get anything.
Oh shit.
How do masks stop transmission of COVID-19? How does that work, dude? It makes
Because you
no
don't
sense.
spread it. Like if you.
Yeah, but you telling, I
Oh.
saw a tweet, okay, that said, if a fart can make it through your pants,
Wow.
how can a virus not make it through a mask? That's
Ooh.
How? That,
I mean,
think about it.
I'm speaking completely out of pocket because I'm not an academic in this sphere. But to me, I was
I'm not an academic either.
level, maybe a virus is bigger in size.
Yeah, it's more like particles
Yeah.
instead of air particles. I guess it's more like water molecules instead of air
Yeah.
particles. I think that's right. Yeah.
Because the mask
I don't know.
isn't
What's
supposed
been
to
happening
like
with you
prevent
guys?
you from getting it. It's to prevent spreading,
Yeah.
which is
But
why.
like, that's what I mean. Like, how does it prevent spreading, bruh? Like, if I fart through a mask, it's not protecting anyone. I'm a smart.
You fart
Mask
doesn't
prevent
prevent
you from
virus.
getting it. The mask prevents you from spreading it. Which one is it?
Spreading.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't prevent you from getting it because there's still like, how you breathing, because you have to breathe in through somewhere. So it doesn't stop you
Yeah.
from getting it.
And you can get it through eyes and like your eyes and stuff as well. So.
Yeah. I saw people with like riot masks. You know that?
The
Not
people
like
that work
cloth,
at Woolworths.
like plastic. Yeah, like legit riot
Yeah.
masks, dude. Like in America, you see the protests, and then they bring like the police with it. Like they were wearing that riot mask. I was so like, what's going on right now?
Yeah,
Waiting for the protests.
it's mad. Anyway, guys, today we are going to be chatting about gender-based violence. So, fair trigger warning to everybody who's watching / listening. We will be speaking about gender-based violence, sexual assault, etc. And while we do acknowledge that men are victims to sexual assault and abuse as well, we are going to be talking in the context of the femicide that is happening in South Africa. So we're going to be talking about various things and also how to be practical in combating that. So first of all, let's talk about rape culture. What do you guys understand about rape culture? Or what do you understand it to be?
I would understand it to be a society I guess a society that normalizes or like tolerates actions or words or whatever that I'm trying to think of a better way to say it, but like that can like sounds rapey or whatever, or can kind of like lead into rape. Or normalizes stuff like rape.
Yeah.
And I mean that can take place in very different ways.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
what rape culture is, it's the things that are still assault, but is not necessarily rape. So it includes all of those
Mhm.
things. I don't know if you guys saw Unati, the judge from Idols, like that's how everybody knows her. She posted
Yeah.
something on Instagram the other day about how this man was like repeatedly asking her out, and she kept on saying, no, I'm not interested, like denying him, whatever. And he kept on pursuing. And then one day he actually FaceTimed her, and he was naked in the video call. And like
Mm.
that is actually rapey as well. And I think that rape culture, it's a thing of normalizing this form of assault that is not necessarily rape, but it is harassment, it's coercion, it is
Yeah.
making women uncomfortable, it's
Mm.
catcalling, it's that locker room talk where it's like,
Mm.
yo, did you see who I smashed last night? Like that,
Mm.
that normalization of women as objects for sexual pleasure more than human beings.
Mm.
I think following what you say, Marcus, is that when women say no and stuff, and then guys still pursue afterwards, and they push further, they push the barriers, and I think that leads to rape culture.
I think okay. I think a very important point to make is the continuous, let's say, pursuing is. I don't think that's the problem. I think when it goes overboard, that's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't think like perseverance, trying to like get a goal, is necessarily the bad thing. I think
Yeah.
it's when it just goes overboard, when it turns into harassment or assault. That's when it's just too much.
Yeah.
I think it's the
when
way
it
in which you
adds
do
to
that.
rape culture.
Because you can pursue someone respectfully and without making them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on context as well. On
So if a
how
woman
you
were
are
to tell
pursuing.
you, I'm like flattered that this is the 17th time that you're asking me out, but I've said no 16 other times and you're making me uncomfortable. And if you still pursue after that, after a woman, or not even, she doesn't even have to like directly tell you that you're making her uncomfortable. If she like rolls you off or whatever, she doesn't give you attention, take that sign as a, okay, cool, I must leave this woman alone because she's not interested.
Yeah,
And
but I think
there's
that
a line
I
between
think in
pursuing and being persistent in that, and then going overboard.
yeah, but that's like psycho stuff. That's like sociopathic behavior.
Yeah.
Where you're just not like you're not acknowledging this person.
Yeah.
And this person's feelings or whatever, you carry on pursuing.
Yeah.
So like I said, I do think it depends on context. Definitely in the way we have to look at things depends on context.
Do you guys think that
let's give a scenario that way we can explain it a lot easier. You guys have any suggestions? I'm not thinking of one at the moment. But I'm thinking that, let's say a guy's pursuing a girl, right? And she keeps saying no and stuff, and it comes to a point where she blocks him, like, and she's like, leave me alone, I don't want to talk to you ever again, and the guy still pursues her. What would you say that is?
That's harassment. That's not pursuing at that point. That's harassment.
And that's
I think
psychological issues that need to be dealt with.
That's like stalking. That's like stalking.
Yeah.
I was about to say stalkering. Yeah, but I think when it comes to, I think that there's a fine line between persistence and stalking or harassment, and it's very important to make the distinction and try and get people to understand when that line is crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that slut shaming breeds rape culture?
I think it depends on. I think when you are slut shaming in the form of like, yo, what was she wearing? Like you're kind of victim blaming by slut shaming. That I think that adds into rape culture. I don't think they like normal. I don't want to say normal slut shaming because I mean it shouldn't be a thing in the first place. But I mean like judging people for having sex with partners or various partners. I don't think that part leads into rape culture. I think that's just you being an asshole. Or necessarily that means that is rape culture.
I think that slut shaming in the form of, oh my word, look what she's wearing, she's such a slut, or look how many guys she's been with. I think in that sense it doesn't actually appropriate to rape culture. But when slut shaming crosses the fine line of rape apology in saying like, oh, she's a slut, or look, or like the way that she was dressed, she deserved it, or she was asking for it, things like that. When it becomes a form of rape apology, then it becomes an issue.
Yeah, I think slut shaming in response to a rape victim or whatever, or a sexual assault victim, that's when it adds to rape culture.
Yeah. And let's just talk about rape apology for a second. So rape apology is shifting the blame of rape and sexual assault away from the actual perpetrators, away from the rapists, and onto the victims. It's like implying that the victims have done something in order to deserve such a thing to happen to them. And the thing about rape apology that we don't always understand is that it's not always explicit. So it's not necessarily saying, girls, even though this does happen, it's not limited to girls shouldn't wear short skirts, but it's implicit and less blatant in the form of, I believe her, but, or she's telling the truth, but maybe, or, but what about this? What about his side of the story? There's rape apology manifests in various different ways, and I think we focus on the bigger, blatant, obvious ways, and we ignore the implicit ways that it manifests in society. It's the things of, were you drunk? It's the things of, where were you? What were you wearing? And that's partially society's blame. Like, we should blame society for that, because we were raised in a society where girls were taught, don't wear this, dress modestly, learn how to protect yourself, don't go here at this time. And men were not taught not to rape.
Yeah. But on that note, I don't think it's necessarily men weren't taught not to rape, because any normal person, on every normal average day guy, isn't like, rape isn't even coming into their minds. You know what I mean? I think it's different. It's different, like, I guess, childhood experiences or the way you grew up or whatever that leads you into thinking, okay, rape is okay, or like your parental figures, like they have giving you some sort of experiences that made you think, okay, like, this woman as an object is fine, like, I'm okay with that. I don't think it's necessarily, yo, man, don't rape. I don't think that's the problem. I feel like I've never been told not to rape someone, but I'm not gonna fucking go out and rape someone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's the issue of men aren't told not to rape. I think it's different situations that lead into a man thinking a woman is an object, or a man thinking it's okay to rape.
What do you think about the not all men chat?
I think it depends on, okay, this is very difficult for me to answer, because I'm going to, when it comes to false accusations and that, I'm going to use a analogy that kind of goes into, not necessarily not all men, but it's very like borderline, where you could say, okay, maybe I'm thinking not all men, but it's not that. I think the not all men side of the argument is taking away from the fact that someone was raped, or the fact that this person is a rapist. I think that's the main issue with it. And it's not always brought up to say, yo, not the majority of men are good. I think it's brought up in a way to say, yo, I'm not doing anything wrong, so why is it my issue? I think that's the way it's brought up mostly.
I think guys use that to defer responsibility, to say, I'm not doing it, it's not my issue. Like, I don't know why you noise at me. When in actual fact, like, it's not a woman issue. It's a society, it's a social issue that everyone has a part to play in. So that not all men chat, while it does take away from the realities of women, it also defers responsibility, and it makes us as men feel like we don't have to do anything different. We don't have to take a stand. We don't have to use our voices because it doesn't directly affect us, or we are not directly involved.
Yeah.
And I think with the not all men issue, it also comes in where like, I'm not raping, but at the same time, I'm not calling out my friends for doing something. So when the men are trash movement is brought up, it's not like men are trash because they murder women or they kill women or murder kill is the same thing, or they rape women. Sorry. It's that as well, but it's also like you not calling out your friends for doing certain things. You're not speaking up on behalf of women. You're not doing things that are in aid of women when they need it.
Yeah, it's like you're not doing it, but you're still allowing it. And for that reason, and I think that men use this not all men argument because they fail to recognize the role that they played, not in doing it, but in allowing it. Because by not standing against something actively, you're just maintaining it. You're allowing it to continue. Although
the definition of the definition of rape culture, you normalizing or tolerating it. And I think that tolerating is very important because you are not doing it, but you're also tolerating people, other men doing it.
Yeah. So Devin, you wanted to go to false accusations, so let's go there.
Okay. So the stance I'm taking is I want people to understand why I think false accusations is good to bring up. Why it's very good to bring up. Okay. So I'm going to give an analogy now. So majority of men are good. I think we can all agree majority of men are good. Yes, no.
Debatable.
Majority of the men you meet on a day-to-day basis are good people. They're not like the thought of making a woman uncomfortable on purpose is not going into their head. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's fair statement.
Yes, fine.
Okay. Yeah. So following that, while I think majority of men are good, I can understand if a woman feels uncomfortable at night, even though majority of men aren't going to do anything to her, right? So in the same sense, majority of women aren't going to lie about their rape case or a sexual assault case. But I still have to have a fear in my mind that the minority of women would lie. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, if false accusations isn't brought up, it's not a chat, and we have to accept the word of someone's accusation as like it's the only truth, then what's going to protect me if I'm accused of rape or sexual assault that I didn't do and I'm innocent? So I think it's very important to bring it up so that we are reminded that people are capable of lying.
Yeah.
I think for false accusations, I think it's more along the lines of like 1% of women have like false accusations. And I think for that, like let's say a woman gets raped, right? And she calls the police on her husband. Let's say a husband sexually assaulted her or raped her or something like that. And the police come there and they question her along the lines like, did he really do this and stuff? Because I think police do that. I think also people do that along the lines of, did he actually do it and that sort of thing, you know? And
I think it's called secondary victim blaming.
Yeah, I think the first thing they should do is assume that they did do it and take the lines, or take the part of the woman, so that she would be safe. You know what I mean? So I think that should come first priority, and then look along the lines and see whether or not he did do it or he didn't do it. I think that should be.
I'm not taking on the case where we shouldn't believe a woman. I think we should.
Yeah.
My case is like in today's society, if you are accused of sexual assault or rape, you are cancelled and your life is ruined. Yeah, I think we can all agree on that.
Which is fair.
So we regardless if it's true or not, you can be cancelled for doing it.
But I think this thought is problematic in that what are the chances of there actually being like, yes, I personally have heard of false accusations and people coming out about it afterwards saying that I was lying, I made it up. But that was, I think I've heard of 2, whereas I've heard of thousands.
Okay, but like,
actually
that's I'm
responsive.
getting to my point now. I'm saying we should believe the woman. I'm saying I don't think I'm willing to call someone a rapist or a sexual abuser without hearing their side of the story, because I feel like in most cases, whether true or false, you don't get to hear the other side of the story, but you are calling them a rapist or abuser or whatever, or murderer or whatever. I just think, because I mean, in court you can't convict someone without hearing their side of the story. That's just a given. You can't call someone a rapist without hearing their side of the story. And I think we should be thinking along the lines of that, where before we cancel them or we shame them or whatever, let's hear what they have to say about it. If they say they're lying, let's look into it. Let's look into the evidence or whatever. This is only based on people who just come out and like say it, not based on if they have evidence like messages or whatever. Especially in, I mean, we've all seen on Twitter like the pedophilic cases where they've said some very strange stuff like that. That is obvious. That's obvious, like this dude being a pedophile. Then I don't need to hear your side of the story. I have evidence. But I mean, just on my word versus your word, I feel like I should at least have both sides of the story before I'm calling someone anything.
But I feel like this, while what you're saying is true, that everyone is equal in a court of law, 100%, this could actually, if it's applied in the wrong way, could actually become a form of rape apology, because then it's saying, maybe she's lying, let's hear what he has to say. And then if he's like, nah, we were just like chilling, she was fine, I don't know why she's tripping now. Like, then that side of the story, it's then like, what is it? And I think that South Africa, or not even South African women, all women have been through way too much for us to give their perpetrators the benefit of the doubt. I think that we have to normalize believing the victim, because at the end of the day, whether or not your side of the story, because your side of the story was based on your intentions. So if your intentions was not to make someone feel uncomfortable, but your actions still made them uncomfortable, that is not for you to decide, because you control your actions. You can't control people's responses to your actions. So whether or not I was complimenting a girl because, hey, like, maybe I call a girl beautiful because she's beautiful. I think she's beautiful. I didn't mean to make her uncomfortable. I just wanted to give her a compliment. But she now feels uncomfortable. And if my actions made her feel uncomfortable and made her feel like, oh, I don't want to be here, I feel unsafe, who am I to say that her response to that is wrong? Who am I to say that my side of the story was pure and my intent was right? But who am I to say that you can't be uncomfortable? You shouldn't have been uncomfortable. I did nothing wrong. I think that in this day and age, we need to believe victims. And yes, an example of a compliment versus rape, it's not the same thing, but it's still, we should normalize believing victims.
Could be taken as sexual harassment, both cases.
Yeah, but I think even regardless of normalizing that, I think that the probability of it being a false accusation is not high enough to give every rapist the benefit of the doubt. It's just not worth it. I think thousands of women have been killed because of it. So if one dude has to lose his reputation, I think that's a price that must just be paid at the end of the day.
But that's very damaging. That's a very damaging thing.
That's very damaging, but we are in a very damaged situation. So if I'm taking off believing a victim over protecting someone's pride, like
and I'm not saying that I'm not believing the victim. I will believe you, but at the same time, I can't 100% commit to you just off word of mouth. You know what I mean?
But how would you prove something like that?
Because it's very dangerous.
Like, there's no evidence, there's no witnesses. How would you prove, and then where? And I think you're coming from it like from a legal perspective, whereas if you were in a courtroom, how would you rule? But there's most times no evidence for it.
I think that's also one of the reasons why it's very difficult to convict rapists, because I mean, the majority of the time the evidence you have is maybe a rape kit, and your word, basically.
Yeah, but that should be in our justice system, but it's not right now. But that's a whole other chat for another day. So, on top of all this conversation, we obviously all have a responsibility to do something, to be practical, to actually fight against it, to stand up against it. So we're going to invite one of my friends up. His name is Karabo. He has started an awesome NPO to actually practically combat gender-based violence in South Africa, specifically in schools. But yeah, we're going to let him talk about it a bit more. So he's going to hop on real soon. He's an awesome friend of mine. There he is. He's just connecting. We love Wi-Fi. Karabo, are you good?
I'm good, man. Good to see
What up, man?
you.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today. So just real quick,
Thanks for having me.
tell us what you are doing. Tell us about your NPO.
My NPO, so the name of it is Askhulumeni. And Askhulumeni in Zulu, it means let's talk. And basically, it's an NPO that actually, as of yesterday, is officially registered, which is really exciting. Basically, it's the goal of the NPO is to go into all male-bodied schools across the country and tackle and talk about issues such as gender-based violence, such as toxic masculinity in those schools and with those boys, and really just try to start to change mindsets, because I think at the end of the day, like we as men are the problem. And so I'm like, you know what, let me start at the source, let me start at the root of this issue, which is just in the way in which men think about women. And once we can change the way men think, then it's going to start changing some of their actions. And so, yeah, that's the goal of the NPO, just to pretty much reach as many schools as possible, as many boys as possible. Yeah.
I love that so much, man. I love that you're doing this. So how could we, as like the three of us, but also everybody who's watching and listening, how could we actually help you? How could we climb on board?
I think for now, in all honesty, just in terms of context, and so context in terms of some of your former high schools, if you still have networks with any of the teachers or people that Askhulumeni could contact in terms of like almost leveraging those networks in terms of getting having a big chance of us getting into those schools. I think honestly, just sending through those contact details, and then so that we can reach out to the right people and know who it is that we need to chat to in terms of being able to get into the schools. I think you can follow us on social media and begin to just spread the word about Askhulumeni, so that more and more people begin to know about us, and schools hopefully can reach out to us and ask for us to come into their spaces.
On your point of reaching out on schools, does it only have to be all boys schools or high schools, or can it be both genders?
Great question. So I think obviously I'm trying to tackle people so male-bodied people, but I think also even if it's co-ed schools, would love those contexts as well, so that we could just do a session with the boys specifically. So even if all male-bodied and even co-ed schools, so that we can just have sessions with the boys. Great question.
Awesome.
Cool.
What would you say to someone who wants to do something practical but doesn't know where to start?
So I would say, in terms of specifically to men, or people who identify as men, I would say, in all honesty, just begin to interrogate yourself. Ask yourself, how is it that you view women in society? What is the role of women to you? And really just begin to question like the cognitive biases that you have in your mind towards women, or just certain things that you do subconsciously or consciously towards women, or ways that you think about them. Just begin to question yourself, because it starts with you. So you can never start telling other people how to do or suggest things to other people if you yourself haven't dealt with yourself. And so I think it starts with you, and then from there beginning to call it out, beginning to, if you see anything, if you see any disrespect or anything like that, like just begin to call it out in your friend group. Start having conversations in your friend groups and being like, it's not because you keep hearing the whole "gents, we need to do better" thing, but stop saying it and actually start like doing better. Actually start calling things out. And then thirdly, I think honestly, just have conversations with women. Like a lot of the stuff I know, and a lot of the stuff that I've come to know, is honestly literally been in having conversations with a lot of my female friends. Like in terms of just what it is and just the experience of what it means to be a woman in this country and their lived reality, some of the things that they have to think about on a daily basis, I would never have to think about as a man, but I only know those things because I've had conversations with women. So honestly, start having conversations with women, with your female friends. Ask how it is to be a woman in South Africa, what their daily lived reality, what their lived experiences, what some of the things they feel because of the fact that they're women. Start to begin to do that, and honestly, I really do believe that change will happen if you start to do some of those things.
Awesome.
I think on your point of start having conversations with women, I think that's extremely important, and I think it's even more important to be open-minded when you're talking to women about it. I mean, the most used point that's brought up every time women come forward is, why didn't you do it back then? Why didn't you come forward when it happened? Why didn't you go to the police and all of that? And I think it's important to understand that thousands of women don't get their points heard when they come forward the first time. So they obviously, they're not going to bring it forward. But once they see like a popular celebrity or someone that they know come forward and them getting the proper publicity, I guess, they feel comfortable doing it. They feel like they're not going to be silenced as they were. So I think it's extremely important to be mindful of that when you see women coming forward about these things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just on your point, like, I think just when you're having those conversations, I think the biggest thing is just to listen and not to listen to try respond, or not to listen to try defend yourself. Just listen to try understand and to try lament with them, and to try honestly just listen to understand. Really just allow them to speak and be sensitive to what it is that they say, and because a lot of it will shock you, and it will you will be very, very shocked. Some of the things that I've heard and that I've had to have conversations with people, I'm like, wow, I cannot believe that's your lived reality every day. But man, it's just honestly listening to understand, really. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks for joining, Karabo. We will definitely put your socials out there for people to follow, to get in contact with you. So thank you for coming to tell us about your things.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, guys. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I love that last point of his about becoming more conscious about the reality. And I think that has made it difficult to understand that because we don't experience it. And I love that he said we must listen to understand, not listen to respond. Because it's not a situation where we can have an opinion or we can debate or discuss. It is what it is, and we have to take it for what women tell us that it is, because it's their experiences of ours. And I think that when we need it, after we listen without that intention to respond or debate, we actually just need to internalize it and believe it. And say, you're afraid to take an Uber alone. For me, I'm like, why would you, but women are. And now I need to take that. So that means, as a response to me listening and hearing and understanding, it means that I'm not going to let my friends take Ubers alone. I'd rather Uber with you, or I would drop you at home, or we would make a plan that you don't have to Uber alone. It's the process of listening and then internalizing and then acting on that.
I think that's like the biggest problem in society in general, is like no one wants to listen. Everyone wants to feel heard, but no one wants to listen to what people are actually saying to them. And then it comes down to people don't believe women. They're not listening to the experiences that they're saying. I think that's extremely important point, listening to understand.
Well, that is it for our first episode of DMJ Today. Hope everybody enjoyed. Come back next time. We'll be talking about other cool topics. You know what it is, what they do, what they do, what they do. Yes, sir. Alrighty. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, do the things.
Share, like, it helps with the algorithm. You know the vibes.
Download, subscribe.
And follow us on social. Yeah. Like, we'll be in.
All those like YouTube things, do those things. We love to see it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. See you guys next time.